everybody, welcome back. So this is a 60-second reads video with a text that's been taken from Twinkl. So on the screen for you now is the text. Now, this isn't a very long text, so I'm not going to give you 60 seconds to do this. I'm just going to suggest that you pause the screen to have a read, and then when you've done, press play. And then what we'll do is we'll go through some of the vocabulary in there that is quite tricky. So your text today is called The April Joke. So I've picked out 3 pieces of vocabulary here that I thought might be a little bit tricky. So the first one is gladsome day. Now actually you may know that word if you shorten it just to the word glad. People use that word quite often to mean happy. So if it's a merry gladsome day, it means a very happy day. The next word that I've picked out is roguish. Now she had roguish eyes and golden hair. Roguish eyes kind of mean that she was a little bit mischievous, that when you looked at her you knew that she liked to cause a little bit of trouble. And then the last thing that I've picked out is long-suffering mortal folk. Now if you're long-suffering, it essentially means exactly what it says. It means that you've been suffering for a long time. So this isn't the first prank that they've played on you. And mortal folk is basically the way of saying humans. So we're getting the impression that we're potentially talking about pixies or elves or something that's a little bit different to the mortal folk, which would be us. Now are 4 questions for you to have a go at. The text is also beside so you can refer back to it. Pause the screen and have a go, and then once you've done, if you press play, we'll go through the answers together. So let's have a look at some of the answers you could have given. Number 1, tick true or false in the following table. So this is basically just, does it say it in the text? If it doesn't say it in the text, then it is not going to be true. The April Fool had roguish eyes is false because it was the other person who was being described as that. Now this is where they are trying to be quite tricky because they're giving you a fact that is slightly true, but they're changing some facts in it to make it false. So I would definitely go back and just check, because you're going to go through it and think, oh yes, I've read that, tick it as true. The second, it had rained all through April, is false, and no flowers bloomed in May is true. Number 2, do you think that the April Fool and the Queen of May had played a trick on the mortal folk before? Yes, because we've talked about the fact that the mortal folk had been described as long-suffering, which means that they've had to deal with this all before. Number 3, find and copy the phrase that tells you that the pair of mischief makers were sitting close together and secretly whispering about their plans. So it's exactly the phrase, his fool's cap close to her flower-crowned head. So it means that their heads were quite close together. That is the only thing that would have been accepted for that bit there. And then number 4, what does the poet mean by a topsy-turvy spring? So topsy-turvy means that something is upside down or completely the opposite of what it should normally be. So for example, the flowers had bloomed in April, but it had rained all the way through May, which is the opposite of how it should have really been.